Hello students, welcome to my YouTube channel Divya Singhi Social Lab. So class 8 student, we are going to start very interesting topic today, that is reshaping India's political map. And students, I have divided this chapter into 3 parts. So today we are going to discuss the first part, which is the Delhi Sultanate. Okay, so let's start. I am sharing my screen now. I hope screen is visible to all my students, right? Let's start. So as I told, we are going to start the chapter Reshaping India's Political Map, in which we are going to discuss our first topic, that is the Delhi Sultanate. Let's start now, children. So now, the rise of Delhi Sultanate. Students, Delhi Sultanate was founded after the defeat of King Prithviraj Chauhan in 1192 CE. Students, King Prithviraj Chauhan used to control the northwestern part of India. After his defeat, the Delhi Sultanate was founded. And Delhi Sultanate was founded by Qutbuddin Aibak. Okay. So student, Delhi Sultanate was comprised of 5 major dynasties. So here you can see the name of the dynasties: Mamluks, that is slave dynasties; Khiljis, Tughlaq, Sayyids, and Lodi dynasty. So these are the 5 dynasties. Very important, you should know. Students, these all dynasties were from Turkic Afghan origin. Am I clear? And Delhi that time became the northern India's political hub. Okay. So now students, here you can see the picture of one monument, that is Qutub Minar. So students, the construction of Qutub Minar began in 1199 AD under Qutbuddin Aibak, who was the founder of the Delhi Sultanate, which I told you just now. Okay. So students, now let's discuss in detail about the each dynasty. Now students, we are going to discuss about Alauddin Khilji. Students, now if I speak about Alauddin Khilji, he was also known as the second Alexander. Am I clear? And students, what he done? When he came to India, what all things he done? I'll tell you. First, he conducted campaigns like military campaigns across the northern and central India. And students, you know what he used to do? He used to do a sacking and plundering. Sacking and plundering means he used to loot the wealth in many cities. Okay, he used to go with his army and he used to loot the wealth. And what was the use of that wealth? That wealth was financing the military apparatus. Okay, whatever students see, if someone has a military, he has to run the army, definitely a lot of expenses will come. So that expenses were coming from sacking and plundering the Indian cities. Students, when Alauddin Khilji was there, he successfully defeated India against the Mongol forces, okay, who sought to add India to their vast Asian empire. So he defended India from the Mongol forces. Students, so basically if I speak about Alauddin Khilji, I told that he used to do the campaigns in the north and central India, but his slave general Malik Kafur, he helped him to take some part of the south kingdoms as well, like Srirangam, Madurai, Rameshwara, Chittambaram, etc. Okay, and the last part, as I told very clearly, the wealth which he used to plunder was utilized for his army. Okay, whatever expenses are coming, that he was using for it. Okay, so that's about Alauddin Khilji. Next is Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Okay, and students, for the first time since the Mauryan Empire, most of the subcontinent was under one ruler. Okay, now students, when Muhammad bin Tughlaq came, he brought so many changes. Okay, now I will discuss what all changes he made. But were those changes profitable? That is the one question here. Okay, first I tell you the changes. So first change, students, earlier the capital was Delhi. When he came to rule, the capital was Delhi. What first change he made was he shifted the capital from Delhi to Daulatabad. Okay, which is present day Devagiri. Okay, now students see, he shifted the capital. First change he made, But was the change fruitful? No, because students, see, people were forced to walk over 1,000 kilometers. People were forced to walk over 1,000 kilometers. It was very difficult, students. And students, see, suppose if someone is shifting, lot of expense will come. If you might have observed sometimes, if you're shifting house, so many expense will come. You have to carry so many things with you, right? So same way, students, when he shifted his capital from Delhi to Daulatabad, it was very difficult because first of all, people has to walk for 1,000 kilometers, plus transferring the things from one place to another was a great loss of money. So it was not that great decision. Now let's discuss the second change which he made. So students, he introduced what? He introduced cheap copper coins, and he declared that the copper coin, you can see the picture of copper coin as well. He told that the copper coin value will be equivalent to silver and gold. So yeah, definitely people were very happy. Even many of the poor people that time, they were having the copper coin, and the value of the coin is equivalent to gold and silver. So initially people were very happy. But what happened later, students? During the time of trade, it became a very difficult matter, because often it was very difficult to exchange the copper coins, because many kings were not ready to accept that. Okay, so that is why the economy started declining. So this was also not a great decision. So whatever changes he made, students, they were not giving that much profit to him. Okay, so he was trying to expand the territory, but the problem which came was whatever changes he was making, they were not in his favor. They were not profitable to him. Now I want to tell very important things, students, here. That time, I'm talking here about all the sultans. They used to live in big palaces. They used to wear good clothes, good ornaments, ornaments of gold and silver. So, students, from where the wealth was coming for that? Okay, so students, most of the time, the king which they are living in palaces, the jewelry where they are, which they are wearing, the wealth was coming from again sacking and plundering. Plundering means looting the wealth. Okay, and some sultan also used to levy some kind of taxes on the people. Okay, so that was the main source of income. I'll talk about one of the tax here. Next slide. One of the tax was jizya tax. So students, some of the sultan used to levy that tax. So this tax was basically levied on the non-Muslim, and it was also seen as a discriminatory and humiliating tax. Okay, and students, that time one very important concept was happening, that was called iconoclasm. What is iconoclasm? It was actually attack on the Buddhist, Jain and Hindu temples. But the exact definition of iconoclasm is, students, that time most of the Hindus, Jain, they used to do idol worship, right? So destroying the idols, that was the concept of iconoclasm, which was happening during that time. So that time, many attacks happened on the Buddhist temples, Jain temples, and Hindu temples, and our temples were very rich that time. So most of the wealth used to be plundered from there, right? Now here one more part is given about Timur. So students, see what they have given. The Turkey Mongol person invaded northwest India, devastated Delhi, enslaved thousands, and withdraw with enormous plunder. So students, again, most of the outsiders who are coming to conquer India, their main target was to plunder India's wealth. Okay. And now, student, the last dynasty which came forward was the Lodi dynasty, but that was also came to end after the Battle of Panipat. Okay, so I hope I'm clear here. Any doubt? Now, children, the next topic is resistance to the Delhi Sultanate. Resistance means, student, which all kingdoms came to fight against the Delhi Sultanate. So the first example here is Eastern Ganga Kingdom. Students, it was also called the Kingdom of Kalinga, and which is present day Odisha, parts of Bengal and Andhra Pradesh. Students, here I want to speak about very important person here, Narsimha Deva. Okay, he was the one who repelled multiple Sultanate invasions, right? And students, you can see here one picture in the middle. Okay, so here you can see Narasimha Deva one. He was seated on the throne, and you can see he's down. He is surrounded by the people, like mostly the musicians, right? And students, whenever Narasimha Deva one used to win, okay, he used to celebrate all his victories. He used to celebrate all his victory in the Surya temple at Konark. It's a very famous temple, students. So he used to celebrate all his victories there. So you can see the, I have put also the image of Surya temple of Konark. Okay. Now the next resistance to the Delhi Sultanate came from the Hoysala kingdom, which is ruled mostly, they used to rule the present day Karnataka. Okay, and students, Hoysala kingdom earlier used to be the independent kingdom, but it fended off several Delhi Sultanate attacks. Okay, eventually the Hoysala kingdom started weakened, and it was absorbed into the Vijayanagara Empire. Okay, now the next is Musunuri Naika. Students, they were the Telugu chieftain who rallied 75 plus chieftains of the region. Okay, and they defeated many Delhi Sultanate forces. Okay, they even expelled Muhammad bin Tughlaq's army from Warangal around 1330 to 36. Okay, so student, these were the contribution by Masunuri Naikas. Now next is Bahmani Sultanate. So they used to basically control the Deccan part of India. Okay, so student, they also basically, we can say here, used to control, they actually gave very tough competition to the Delhi Sultanate. And students, there were other independent sultanates were there, like in Gujarat, Bengal, Rajasthan. They gave a lot of tough competition to Delhi Sultanate. So here I'm going to specially mention about one person of Rajasthan, one Raja Rana Kumbha of Mewar. He actually gave very tough competition to the Delhi Sultanate, he and his army. Okay, and students, he built one fort. You can see here a picture of the very important fort. Students, I hope it's visible to all of you. This fort is called Kumbhalgarh Fort, built by, who's built it? Rana Kumbha. And students, the best part about this fort is it has a 36-kilometer long wall. This, you can see the picture. You can see the picture here. So this has a 36-kilometer long wall, right? Am I clear? So now student, this was your first part, okay? And the second part will be coming soon and live. I'll be updated you. Till then, stay tuned and stay connected with me. And don't forget to subscribe my channel, Divya Singhi Social Lab. Okay? And students, I want to tell you one thing. Whenever you are seeing my videos, in case if you get any doubt, what you have to do is, you have to write in the comment section. So when the chapter will end, I will make a separate video for those doubts. Am I clear? So do mention that, and please subscribe my channel, Divya Singhi Social Lab. Until then, stay tuned, stay connected with me, okay? And wait for the next part. Thank you all.